Don't forget to subscribe the channel, and for more updates, press the bell icon.
Hello, Namaskar. Welcome to Side Insight. I'm your host Rahul Sharma. You're watching What's the Point? We are celebrating the 75th year of our independence, which means we believe that we are now a mature democracy. We also believe that our politics has evolved. And talking about politics, we should not forget to mention the grand old party of this country. Yes, I'm talking about Congress. Congress is shrinking. Whereas other parties, whether it is a regional party or any other small party, they all are expanding their base. Where is Congress? Elections are there in 5 states. All the other parties are trying to gain the momentum, but Congress is nowhere. Rahul Gandhi has just returned from his holidays. Is he serious about politics? The question remains the same. There are lots of challenges Congress is facing within the Congress and from outside. G23 is one of the issues Congress has not addressed from so long now. Congress is also losing its alliance. Well, opinion polls are saying that Congress is losing Uttarakhand also. It's dicey in Punjab. Well, there are so many questions we have to ask. In this discussion, I'm joined by Tehseen Poonawalla. You have seen him defending Congress on various platforms. He is known to be a staunch Congress guy. So let's discuss with him, where is Congress? Hello, Namaskar, Tehseen. Welcome to Side Insight and to this segment, What's the Point? So as you know, today we are discussing about Congress, the future of Congress, and how Congress is performing right now on the ground. As you know, elections are in 5 states, upcoming elections, and we can't see Congress anywhere on ground. But I want to start with a very basic question that from last 6-7 years, this country has witnessed a fall of opposition, or one should say there is no opposition in the country right now. We can't see any constructive opposition in this country. Okay, to be very honest, Tehseen, and also one also can say that Congress is nowhere looking serious about it. You are lacking on many fronts. So my first question to you would be, where is Congress? Because this is not the same Congress which once was known by the tall leader Indira Gandhi, tall leader Rajiv Gandhi. But today, unfortunately, this is no more the same Congress. So where is Congress?
First of all, Rahul, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such a credible show, and Happy New Year. Though I know we are 13 days late, but Happy New Year to you, to your family members, to all your viewers and all your subscribers. And please stay safe because we know we are in the middle of the COVID third wave. You asked a question, where is the Congress? The Congress is very much alive, kicking, and in opposition in India, which was the party that led the fight against the land acquisition bill. It was the Congress, who was the first leader to denounce at 9 p.m. on 8 November 2016 that demonetization was an absolutely ridiculous move. It was Sri Rahul Gandhi ji, which was the party that took to the streets, whether it was Hathras, Unnao, Sonbhadra, or other incidences that have happened across the country. It has been the Congress. The Congress is on the ground. When farmers were shot dead in Madhya Pradesh, it was Congress and Rahul Gandhi was arrested. When Hathras, an incident happened and Priyanka Gandhi was arrested, it was the Congress. Congress has been the voice and the conscious keeper of this country. But I get your point when you say, where is the opposition? Because unfortunately, the problem right now, Rahul, is that it's not particularly about the Congress or the opposition. It's about other institutions which have been collapsing under the BJP. And I have no hesitation in saying it, that our constitutional institutions are under a lot of strain. We are no longer a complete democracy. And these institutions are not supporting democracy and constitution, rather conniving with the government in suppressing democracy. And therein is the problem in India today.
Tehseen, these are the repetitive arguments from the opposition, as you have just mentioned, that BJP is a kind of a threat to democracy. BJP is a kind of a threat to the people. Let me ask you in a very straight way. This is the same country which once voted for Indira Gandhi. The last majority which Congress got in such a humongous way was under the leadership of Rajiv Gandhi. You know that. And these were the same people. And today, the same set of people, the same democracy has voted for Narendra Modi, not just once, but twice. And in the second term, they have been given such a large majority. So why you always come up with this argument that people are not happy with this government? The democracy is not performing as the way it should be. So what is this argument based on? What is the fact you have?
There are two separate questions. When you ask me, is the government performing as per how the Constitution of India is written, the basic structure of the Constitution? No, it's continuously violating the basic structure of the Constitution. It's violating every single constitutional norm, propriety, and democracy. When a secretary from the Prime Minister's office summons the Election Commission, the Prime Minister cannot do it. That is a violation of democracy. When night after night you have media channels questioning the opposition, calling the opposition anti-nationals instead of questioning the Prime Minister, that is a violation of democracy. When you have incidences like Hathras, where the DGP police comes out and says that a dying declaration of the victim is a lie and the victim was not gang raped until we have until the CBI overturns it, and a leader of opposition who's gone there is arrested without a warrant and she's kept in jail for 3 days without women police, that is a violation of the Constitution. When the Supreme Court in its judgment says, and it's a written judgment, that the ED director's tenure shall not be extended, and in Parliament on a voice vote they extend the ED director's tenure, that is a violation of the Constitution. When the agriculture bills, the 3 farm bills are passed in Rajya Sabha, when members of parliament of the opposition are asking for a division of a vote, and Rahul, as a journalist, a division of a vote is a fundamental right of a member, that is overlooked, and these bills are passed by a voice vote, and then 700 farmers, 800 farmers are martyred. That is a violation of our Constitution. When they stand up in parliament and they said nobody died because of lack of oxygen, that is a violation of our Constitution. This is a government that is violating our Constitution, and the only answer that this government has is it happened in the past, so we are doing it. They have no other answer. Unfortunately, they failed on every aspect.
See, Tehseen, I can't counter these arguments because I'm not from BJP. But factually, if I have to counter this argument, I would just say, yes, it is the reality that in past, we have witnessed emergency, the era of emergency. So on one side, Congress is coming from that background, and this country is now very much educated. As the electoral politics has evolved, so as the voter. And we know this is an era of social media. You cannot just spit and run. You have to sit there and answer the arguments also. So when Congress blames the ruling government in the name of violating the Constitution or whatever it is, we also know that we have the Supreme Court in this country, a judiciary in this country. So in that situation, why Congress just stick to making headlines? Why didn't they go and directly appeal to the Supreme Court in all these issues what you just have mentioned? So why it is that you just want to create headlines, you just want to do the media gimmick kind of a thing, and you don't want to really take up the issues and handle them with this maturity?
Was the farmers' protest a media gimmick? Were 800 of my farmers who died, was that a media gimmick?
But nobody has given the list.
That's untrue. Punjab government has given compensation to the farmers who died. The list, the name and the address has been handed over by Shri Rahul Gandhi ji to the union government. Are you saying that it was a media gimmick that nobody died in the second wave of COVID? This is a shameless government that got up and said nobody died due to shortage of oxygen. Was it a media gimmick? Rahul, one second. Was it a media gimmick when Ajay Mishra Teni, and I say this with responsibility, the MOS home of our country, an absolute goon, an absolute goon. His son ran over farmers. And what was the narrative? The narrative was that it was an accident when farmers started pelting stones. Until I, Tehseen, tweeted the video of the car running over farmers. And what happened? There were cases put on me until they had to withdraw because it was proved correct. And didn't Ajay Mishra Teni say to all of you and your colleagues in the media, if my son's name is a charge sheet, I will step down? Why has he not stepped down? Look, Rahul, we can go back to the 70s. And I am saying, and I am an absolute Congress supporter, I am saying the emergency was goddamn wrong. And Rahul Gandhi's apologized for it. The Congress has apologized for it. But that cannot be a justification that something wrong happened in the 70s or the 80s to be repeated in 2021, 2022. Didn't Shri Narendra Modi ji say, Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar or New India? Is a New India going to be a justification of what happened in the old? Is it okay, propriety wise, that a Chief Justice of the court is made a governor, that a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is made a Rajya Sabha member? Is it propriety?
But that has been. But that has happened
in the past,
also.
and that was wrong. And that was wrong. Of course, it was wrong. It was 100% wrong. And therefore, the people of India, many of my friends, many of your friends, many people who all their lives voted Congress were fed up and voted for a new BJP, a BJP that spoke about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, a BJP that spoke about a new grammar of development. Now, everything that the BJP does wrong says, oh, but you did the emergency. You made somebody the MP. So we are doing it. How is this justified?
Tehseen,
Those are the points you remove the Congress.
Tehseen, I totally agree. Two wrongs can't make a right. But the point here is, when you talk about, the COVID death, which state has given data in written to the center that these number of the people are, they have died due to the short of oxygen? In your Maharashtra state, which always led the tally during the wave 1, wave 2, and still it is leading the tally. But they have come up with that there is no death due to the lack of oxygen. So this has been because at the end, the government of India has to work and has to present the data in the parliament, which has been with the collective data from all the states.
That's so true.
So that's what when the states are not, so that this means the states are not serious about it. So states have not given the data.
That's a very good question, and I'm so grateful you raised this question, because this is something I wanted to clarify to the viewers and to all your subscribers. You see, the form that the government of India, the health ministry, because right now we're under the National Disaster Management Act. Health is a state subject, but under this act, it's a central subject. Right now, COVID is being handled by the center. The form that was sent to the state did not have an option for listing deaths due to oxygen. In fact, that was negated. That is in the guidelines of the Niti Aayog. Now, the question Rahul and Tehseen should be asking is, why should Niti Aayog be dictating how should this be held? Why isn't this being done by the Center of Disease Control, which is in Pune? Why isn't this being done by the National Institute of Virology, which is in Pune? Why is the Niti Aayog directing people how to fill forms and states how to fill forms? This is the form that has been sent to state governments, and state governments are not allowed to list it. Why are you not listing it? All state health ministers, I can tell you about Rajesh Tope from Maharashtra. I can tell you about T.S. Singhdeo from Chhattisgarh. I can tell you about Bana Gupta from Jharkhand. All of them have been on record and said there was an oxygen shortage. The center is not allowing us to put the data. Why isn't the form being changed? Why? Ask that.
Tehseen, you have just mentioned about the health minister of Maharashtra. Let me tell you, it is on record. You can go and check that the health minister of Maharashtra has, issued a statement in media that there is no death due to lack of oxygen. But
as per the NDMA record, as per the NDMA guidelines set by the Niti Aayog, why aren't they allowing us to put the truth out? They don't want the truth to come out. They have said there were no bodies floating in the Ganga.
Tehseen, this is where I want to, make a point that pandemic is one such situation which was, it was same across the nation. It was happening to, in equal capacity to all the states. No state is immune of that. But the point here is that, we can't blame one state and we can't save other state. We can't say that our state was performing good, your state was performing bad. But the situation right now, coming back to the discussion, because we have raised so many issues. My point here was that somehow this is 75th year of the, independence, and the grand old party of this country is shrinking, where we see that other regional parties, which were once flourished under the cover known as Congress. Now they are expanding. Now you see, you have lost Delhi. Delhi was your one of the model, which you can say it's a development model. 15 years, Sheila Dikshit has developed Delhi to what it is today. And you have lost Delhi to a new party formed just, in few months. And again, you are about to lose as the opinion polls are telling, you are losing Punjab again to that same party which was nowhere in existence 10 years back. So you have to think why your base is shrinking. Also, my point is, you see TMC, which is a party formed by a leader which was once your leader, and she is expanding. She's poaching your MLAs or whatever what you can say it. So this is how you're losing your MLAs. You're shrinking your base. So where are you serious about? What you want to do now? Whether it is Delhi, whether it is Punjab, or any state in Northeast.
Of course, the Congress is in a weak position. I won't sit on your show and say, no, the Congress is in a great position. But the Congress still, in 250 Lok Sabha seats, is a direct fight between BJP and Congress. 160 is BJP Congress, and the total number of Lok Sabha seats where the Congress is in a direct fight with an opposition is 250. Even in a shrinking space, the Congress is the biggest opposition. Should the Congress pull up its socks? Of course it needs to pull up its socks. Does it need to start winning states? Of course it needs to start winning states. I remember 2019 when the Congress lost, I came and gave you an interview. And I told you that the Congress now needs to understand. But if you're asking me that is the Congress today going to do better than what's happening, I do believe that most of these surveys that have come out, particularly with regards to Goa, Uttarakhand and Punjab, are wrong. And the Congress is going to do extremely well in these three states. I also want to tell you one thing. For everything that TMC is saying it's growing, the TMC is asking for 2 seats from the Congress in Goa, just 2 seats. The TMC has got no foothold. And every day, sitting ministers of the BJP, sitting cabinet ministers of state governments in the BJP are coming and joining the Congress. Whether it is Goa, Michael Lobo, whether it is Yashpal Arya in Uttarakhand, whether it is the entire AAP that has come to Congress in Punjab, the Congress is set to win Punjab, Uttarakhand and Goa.
But Tehseen, we can't really appreciate this fact that these turncoats or these, shifting from one party to another, this is a reality which has been happening around every election. You've seen in what happened in Bengal election, all the TMC candidates joined BJP, but that doesn't decide the result. My point here is, Tehseen, that you are not just shrinking, as I would say your base is shrinking, but you are also losing your leaders. You see how many leaders you have lost since 2014. Jayanti Natarajan, you have lost someone like YSR, you have lost like Jyotiraj Scindia, you have just lost Captain Amrinder Singh, you have lost you're one of the finest spokesperson like Priyanka Chaturvedi. Your brother has also joined BJP, and in UP you have lost Jitin Prasada, you have lost Rita Bhaduria. So Bhaguna, sorry. So these all leaders you have lost and the list is still long, and there is no end to it. So how do you look at this? Because this is something serious, and also more than this, the biggest loss for any party is just not losing leaders. It is also about its Karyakartas, which are the source of energy, which are really working for you on ground. So how do you look at this?
No one, you took 2 names, Captain Saab. Very grateful Captain Saab went. My only regret with Captain Saab is he should have gone a lot before. Not one MLA voted to save him, not one. You know why? Because he had completely failed the state of Punjab and Congress. Mrs. Gandhi had written to Captain Saab in May 2021 to fulfill the remaining 3 big promises that the Congress has made. Every day he was praising the Prime Minister, and finally, the last straw on the camel's back was the Jallianwala Bagh. He said there was nothing wrong when they had the entire celebration at Jallianwala Bagh where we've had martyrs, where he had celebrations. Captain Saab going should have happened earlier. So I'm very grateful. Rita Bhaguna Joshi is the second name you gave. Just this morning I was reading about Rita ji. She's going to Delhi to ask a ticket for her son Mayank, and I have a lot of respect for her personally. I love her a lot. But she says, and I quote her, that Mayank, her son, has been working for the BJP since 2009. Do you know Rita Bhaguna Joshi was the Congress UPCC president? Do you know she was the Lok Sabha candidate from Lucknow, Kent, and her son was working for the BJP? So look, this fight, as Priyanka Gandhi Vadra rightly says, this is the next freedom struggle. Okay, this is a very tough fight, and it's not for everyone to stay in this fight. Those of us who've chosen to stay with the Gandhis and with the Congress are the ones who are going to stay. Those who want to go, you can't stop them. You should not try to stop them. You have to be ideologically committed to removing and uprooting the RSS from this country. As long as the RSS exists in India, this larger Sangh Parivar, our constitution is not safe. This is a constitutional battle, and we need to fight it. And you've got to be prepared for it.
This again, these are rhetorics. These
it's
are
not rhetoric. This is something I believe. No, I'm sorry. You may find it to be rhetorical, Rahul Sharma. For me, Tehseen, this is a very deep personal battle. It is a personal battle. Please, 1 second. It is a personal battle. 1 second. It is a personal battle when the Supreme Court of India says in its written judgment, come what may, we will not tolerate the ED director's tenure being extended, and that's overturned.
Okay, I heard you.
Personal battle for me.
Tehseen, I told you that since beginning, I am not representing anyone here. I'm just discussing.
But is what I'm saying unfactual? How much does the Prime Minister attend Parliament? Should he not be attending? Should he not be answering our questions?
Tehseen,
why does he run away?
We both know that Prime Minister is not kind of an entity which has to be always present in the Parliament. He is a person.
Should he not answer questions?
No, I'm answering.
Then, do you know? Let me put data out. Do you know Manmohan Singh ji was called a silent Prime Minister, spoke at least 20 times more than Modi ji in Parliament?
Parliament represent you, Rahul? I'm coming to that point. See, if you are talking about the Parliament, because we were discussing something else from where we are now discussing the Parliament structure, you know how the Parliament is not working and is getting stalled by the opposition, creating ruckus. In last 7 years, if you see how the Parliament has worked, it has lost more number of hours than ever before. You know how much costly it is to run every minute of the Parliament. Who's gonna be responsible for that? You are losing money.
That's
to
a very good.
I'm coming to that. My question is, even if you see how many times the Rahul Gandhi raised the question, every time you are sending your people to create the ruckus, you're not serious about any debate and discussion. In last 2 sessions, was monsoon session, we have seen, and before that, another session last year also in winter session, you have seen it is a COVID time. You have certain limitations. Not all people can, can take part in the proceedings. But in that limited situation, you have to come up with the, proper discourse. You should try for indulging into the discussion with the government. But you are coming up with, all the issues, and you want to stall the Parliament. You don't want to listen to the government. How a common person looking from this side will see that it is a discussion is going on, or the Congress is really serious about the issues. It is all about sloganeering. My question to you is, as a journalist, I'm not asking you as your opposition. What do you think about this situation inside the Parliament? All those views, how this time Parliament has taken decision, suspended, MPs. I really appreciate the decision because the way Parliament was performing, it was somehow, disrespecting the temple of democracy. How do you look at this?
So let's come to that answer. I'm going to answer that answer. But you made 4 points. One, you said there are limited proceedings due to COVID. Not everyone can take part. That's not true. All MPs are allowed to take part in Parliament. Number 2, you spoke about Parliament being stalled by the opposition.
I talked about the last winter session. There was limitation.
That's true. But let me come to the larger point. You said stalled by opposition. I want to quote to you 2 stalwarts. Shri Arun Jaitley said in 2012 that creating a ruckus in Parliament is a function of democracy, and stalling Parliament is the duty of the opposition. Sushma Swaraj said that ultimately, if you allow Parliament to be disrupted, it is good for democracy, and they completely wasted an entire winter session over what was a fake scam, and nothing came out of it, an entire winter session. This is what the BJP did. Nobody called the BJP anti-national, and yet in a stalled Parliament, Shri Manmohan Singh ji spoke 20 times more than Modi ji. There was no question, whether it was a question of Nirbhaya, whether it was a question of the nuclear deal, whether it was a question of China's aggression on India, whether it was a question of other issues relating to national national security or internal security. Every single question on the floor of the house was answered in both houses by Manmohan Singh. How many times has Prime Minister Modi spoken? How many questions has he taken from the opposition? The answer is as many as his press conferences, 0. But let's come to the next point that you were raising. Your point was about the 12 MPs being suspended, the 12 Rajya Sabha MPs being suspended. Let's come to the facts of it. What does the rule 256 of the Rajya Sabha of the Parliament say? The rule says extremely categorically that an MP or a group of MPs can only be suspended in that session. They cannot be suspended in the next session. Can you show me, Rahul, in your experience as a journalist who I respect, one incident from 1947, since our Constituent Assembly was formed, until 2021, when MPs who created a ruckus in one session of Parliament were suspended in another session of Parliament? It's never happened. Number two, every single MP that's been suspended, because they've been suspended in the same session of Parliament, have been suspended after due procedure of the law. And what is the law? The law says the legal jurisprudence is after hearing them out, after giving them the right to defense, not arbitrarily suspending them. Now, they suspended these 12 MPs, including my friend Priyanka. Fine. Who are the 2 MPs who were on the table, who tore the book, who tore the paper, and they did not suspend? Pratap Singh Bajwa, somebody I love a lot. Let me, and Sanjay Singh from Aam Aadmi Party. Again, I love him a lot, a very dear friend. Why did they not suspend these 2 MPs? Because Punjab elections are there. They didn't want sympathy there. It's a parliament and it's a vice president who acts as a rubber stamp of the Prime Minister, and the Parliament reduced to becoming the rubber stamp of Prime Minister Modi. That is what I'm objecting to. Other governments have suspended MPs.
Have you not seen the video footages? Were these MPs were they not involved in manhandling those, the
absolutely not.
Come on.
Absolutely not.
Now,
let me tell you, even if they were, what is the rules of natural justice? Rules of natural justice say that you must call the person, give him his or her right to defense, a right to speak before suspending it. But before that, they violated Rule 256. They suspended them in another session. I'm asking you for one example. Give me one example since our Constituent Assembly till 2021 where somebody creating a ruckus in one session is suspended in another section. It's never happened.
But
why? Who comes up with these rules?
In your own state, Maharashtra, legislative assemblies, BJP MLAs have been suspended. Why are you not considering that?
13 have been suspended.
Yes,
not 12, 13. And very good question. Glad you raised it. Those MLAs were suspended in the same session, not in the next session. Number 2, all those 13 MLAs were called to the Speaker's chamber and they were given their right to give a defense. Even right now in this session, Nitish Rane has been suspended for making immature moaning sounds or some sounds he was making when ministers were walking. Even he was called to the Speaker session, not called orally, called in writing, asked to come and give an explanation. They were given the right to talk. Look, we cannot compromise our fundamental legal jurisprudence because somebody wants to act like a dictator. Rahul, tomorrow I may think you're wrong. I may think, but I have to presume you're innocent until you prove yourself guilty. How can the Parliament of India behave this way? Is it a correct precedent?
Why didn't this would be my last question regarding this topic. Why these MPs, when they know the footages are very much clear and they are being there on television and nation is can see that very clearly, why they didn't apologize for their such behavior? Are they not responsible towards the floor of the Parliament?
Why has the Prime Minister not apologized for the 800 martyr deaths? Why is he not removed Rajya Mishra? But let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. You've said there's footage. I've seen the footage. You've seen the footage. They've shown us 2 minutes footage to everybody. I am asking you, put the full 1 hour footage out of that day, and you'll see what happened. Give 1 hour footage. Why are you giving 2 minutes footage?
You mean they were manipulated? They were manipulated footages. You mean that?
No, they're 2 minutes footage. You can cut copy. No. Abhi aap pakad lo. Let's say there's a footage where I raise my hand on you. I will never do that, but there's a footage. I raise my hand on you. Then you obviously raise your hand back on me. Only we remove a 1 minute clip where you raise your hand on me and I plead.
But there's just few minutes back. Why are we removing all the footage? Just few minutes. I totally agree. Just few minutes back, when you were referring these footages and blaming 2 leaders, one from Aam Aadmi Party, another from Akali Dal, then Congress. You were taking
Congress.
Congress.
Congress. Pratap Singh Bajwa.
Then you were taking these evidences as evidence to be true. Now, when I asked about the same question, taking these evidences as true that these MPs were doing the same thing, then you say we have released just the 1 minute.
I am saying please put 1 hour footage, even of Pratap Singh Bajwa and Sanjay Singh. I am going a step further in saying Pratap Singh Bajwa, because I love him. I love him. I'm so glad he's in the Rajya Sabha, and I'm so glad he did. He stood on the table and he tore the bill. I'm so proud of him. He did it. I'm going a step further. He created so much ruckus, but you didn't suspend him. You know why? Because Punjab elections are there. That shows आपकी नियत में इंसाफ करना नहीं है, आपकी नियत में dominate करना है.
Let me put this in this way. Why it is not like that these MPs should go inside the parliament, take their chairs, and sit in a discipline like we all are doing it. We all are in a professional job. We do maintain the decorum. Sit there, let government speak, then you take your turn and speak. Why we can't have a normal discourse? Why you always go into the well with your placards and raising slogans? Why it is such the scenario inside the parliament, the scenes inside the parliament are always like we are in a fish market. Unfortunately.
I absolutely agree with you. But then another wise man, the late Arun Jaitley, said, to run parliament is the responsibility of the government. Why can't the vice president of India, and I say this with absolute respect to the post, but with no respect to Venkaiah Naidu ji, stop acting like this rubber stamp of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and act like the vice president of India and the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha and be neutral? Why can't the vice president of India and the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha? One second. 800 farmers lost their lives because the vice president of India and the chair decided not to be neutral, and the prime minister wanted to satisfy his ego. Think about this. What has our country gone through?
Well,
800 people. 800 people. It's not a small amount. 800 people lost their lives.
Tehseen, government went on record and asked these farmers committees to come and discuss. It is not just one time, two time, multiple times it happened. Supreme Court intervened, and it also requested these farmers to take a call and discuss with the government and do not protest.
Correct.
So let me. I'm not further raising any question on this because this topic is has.
But your viewers must know there were 11 meetings with the government. 11 meetings.
Yes.
11 meetings. Why did the government not suspend the bills till the Supreme Court stepped in?
See,
why?
Government has offered to suspend the bills for over 1 year.
They did. Supreme Court.
No.
Supreme Court did it.
But they were ready to suspend it for 1 year.
No, they weren't.
Get into discuss.
Supreme Court.
This was the offer. You can check that this was the offer. Yes, this was there.
Supreme Court.
Government has offered.
Government should have taken the ball. Supreme Court did it. Government should have taken the loss.
But at the end of the day, we also know that there were multiple, kind of a shift in the demands of these, organizations. They were not ready to accept what government was offering. Even they were changing their stances. But anyhow,
at no point. I was involved in the protest. At no point was the goalpost. There were three main protests. Look, let's let your viewer hear this. One, MSP should be a written guarantee. Two, procurement guarantee should be there. Three, the three black farm laws that were put out should be withdrawn. And fourth, the electricity regulation bill should be withdrawn. And the fifth demand from the beginning was the decriminalization of the burning of stubble. These were the 5 demands on which the negotiations were taking place. At no point were these 5 demands ever changed. They still remain. MSP has to be a written guarantee, and so must be procurement. And those 3 black laws must be withdrawn.
We will discuss this issue particularly because it's a very big issue. We will discuss this in some other episode and I will really appreciate if you will join me again on that episode.
Of course.
Yes, definitely. Now coming back to the Congress thing. Now we know that BJP has been known for whatever you want to say, Hinduism, Hindutva politics. BJP is known for that because not just because for BJP it's an agenda. It is for BJP's existence, the way they live, the way they believe, and the way they perform. It is always that they respect the religion, they follow the religion. It is not a political agenda for them. Now, because if Ram Mandir is a reality today, it is just because BJP was working for it from last 2 decades. Okay. Other than that, there is also nationalism is something which is also for the BJP as a priority. You can't challenge BJP on these two fronts because these are the core of BJP's existence. So why this Hindutva versus Hinduism? Why Rahul Gandhi is trying something different and want to tell people that Narendra Modi is not as Hindu and I am a bigger Hindu in this nation. Now you tell me, would people buy these arguments? Do you believe this is going to work for you in this election? And especially the election of Uttar Pradesh, where you know that Yogi Adityanath, Narendra Modi, they are Hindu Hriday Samrat in this country. Do you think you can challenge this in Uttar Pradesh election with just merely saying Hindutva is different from Hindu?
Let me come to that because that is the issue that is being spoken about. I don't want to get into religion, but for me, I'm going to ask you simple questions, Rahul. When those bodies were floating on the Ganga, were they not Lord Ram's children? When the unemployment today in India is the highest in 45 years, are these people who are unemployed not Lord Ram or Lord Krishna's children? Once again, Rahul, when you have the economy for the first time contracting in 50 years, economy contracting, which means Rahul Sharma and Tehseen Poonawalla are poorer than what they were in 2014. Are we not children of Lord Ram? The fact of the matter is the BJP brings up this issue because it has completely failed on the economy. Today, India is a poor performing economy, and further poor performance means our sovereign ratings will be downgraded. Why is India not printing more? It will be downgraded. The fact of the matter is that this government has failed on all economic aspects. They go to Uttar Pradesh, they talk about Abba Jan, they talk about this. You spoke about Adityanath ji being the Hindu Hriday Samrat. Let me tell you one thing. You know, Adityanath ji is not contesting from Gorakhpur. He's going to go to Ayodhya and contest. You know why? You know why? Because from Gorakhpur, 70 kilometers from Gorakhpur, his ministers, who are ministers in his government, Swami Prasad Maurya, 90 kilometers from Gorakhpur, Dara Singh Chauhan, they have quit, and the entire Purvachal region is looking bad for BJP. They were wiped out in West UP, they wiped out in Purvachal. Therefore, he's going to the Awadh region to Ayodhya to contest. He's not going to win in Purvachal. Today, take it in writing from me. The BJP is not crossing 50 seats in UP. 50 seats in UP. Every day, just now, before I came onto your show, Dharam Singh Saini resigned. The sitting cabinet ministers are resigning. Sitting cabinet ministers. They have no guts to contest.
But Tahseen, you have to understand the fact that at the end of the day, no matter how much you emphasize your points or no matter how much I counter it with the fact, at the end of the day, we are in an electoral democracy where people have to decide. And when people have made Indira Gandhi such a tall leader, these are the same people I already said, which have made Rajiv Gandhi a tall leader. Then these are the same people who still believe and they are actually getting the benefit from the Narendra Modi's policy. You can't deny that. Whether you agree or disagree, on ground situation is what people are liking about. They are talking about. They are happy with Yogi Adityanath's performance. All the infrastructure projects, all the medical colleges, everything what is happening in UP, people are buying that, and that's the reason.
I'm so glad you mentioned medical colleges in UP. Do you know the Honorable Prime Minister of India went to Uttar Pradesh and he said, and I quote him, that until 2017 there were only 12 medical colleges in Uttar Pradesh, until the Honorable Prime Minister was fact-checked, because a parliamentary answer by his own health ministry said until 2017 there were 47 medical colleges in Uttar Pradesh. That's what I'm trying to say. The Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh lie, and that is unfortunate. The front page Indian Express ad of Uttar Pradesh of BJP, the flyovers of Kolkata, the factory was of America. What development? What development? I'm asking you, if they had done so much development, why is unemployment so high? You answer me. I'm asking you simple economic questions. Why is our employment at a 45-year high? Explain that to me. Why is our economy contracting?
Tahseen, at the end of the day, I again say, our economy is performing right now as per the situation, as per the pandemic, better than any other economy. At the way we are recovering, even I am.
Has India fallen down on the hunger index or no?
No, Tahseen,
again, comparing. Have 23 crore people gone into poverty or no?
Tahseen, these all
the UPA pulled out 27 crore people out of poverty. Today, 23 crore people have gone back into poverty. Now, you can say this happened with COVID. If Prime Minister Modi could not manage the COVID, he should step down. Why is he put his picture on the certificates? Give it to Manmohan Singh. He'll run the country better.
Come on, Tahseen. You know that he has run the biggest vaccination program and successful vaccination program in across the world. India is
That's not
performing
true.
better. No,
That's
no,
not true as well.
nobody can deny the fact. We are, our vaccination program is being appreciated by all the other countries. See, we can again discuss more about this. By my question will come down to the same thing. If BJP is performing that bad, why in an electoral politics where people have the option of multiple parties, they are still sticking to BJP? I will question. I'll question you again on this. But let's come to the next question. Now, today, Rahul Gandhi is not at all considered as. See, this is not my statement. I'm just taking all this statement as a view of social media, as a reaction from the social media. He has not been considered as a serious leader. Now, look at this present situation. You have election in 5 states. Okay, all the other parties, they are working very hard. In fact, Aam Aadmi Party is a very new party. They are still putting their all effort in Punjab, in Uttarakhand, in Goa. And where Congress, they know that they are already shrinking, they should be working harder than these parties. In fact, TMC is going to Goa and contesting election. Where is Rahul Gandhi? Why he can't cancel his holiday? I'm no one to question that he can't go outside, he can't celebrate New Year, Christmas. But as a leader, what image you are already carrying that you are a part-time politician? You first have to come over that. You have to perform in a way that people that should change your image first, because we know we have entered an era where perception is a very important thing. Second point here, why he cannot cancel his holiday and work on ground constantly for these 5 states. Now, also one point why I'm saying that, you remember during the Bihar election, it was a statement from the Lalu Prasad's party, one of the leaders from the Lalu Prasad's party, that despite in coalition, Rahul Gandhi was not serious. He was traveling to Himachal Pradesh, then to Goa, and he was not seriously about the campaign. In this situation, how are you going to perform then?
We may say Rahul Gandhi is not a serious politician. Rahul Gandhi gave us ways on vaccination. Who was the first politician to speak about vaccination? When Prime Minister Modi was saying India defeated COVID with vaccination, the same day Rahul Gandhi's statement is the only way to stop the second wave is to vaccinate our adult population as soon as possible. He was mocked. He was mocked by the health minister, who was later removed. One second. Now let's go to booster. Who was the first person to say about booster? Rahul Gandhi. Everything Rahul Gandhi has been talking. Rahul Gandhi is a plan to revive the economy. Why is the economy contracting? Let's have a discussion. Why doesn't the Prime Minister want to discuss with the leader of opposition, but one of the biggest leaders in the opposition? Because the Prime Minister has no plan. What he feels right, he does without understanding. Who was the only leader who said the farm laws will have to be withdrawn? It was Rahul Gandhi. They had to be withdrawn. Ultimately, they had to be withdrawn. So you may say anything about Rahul Gandhi. The reason a lot of us who vote for Congress support the Gandhis is this. Rahul, and I want your viewers to know this. The Gandhi family is the only family in the history of this country that after independence continued to give its sacrifice for this country. There will be leaders from various political parties, Ayaram, Gayaram, who come here, go there. Some may go to BJP, some from BJP may come to Congress, and vice versa, whoever is winning. But the Gandhis will never compromise with the BJP. And that is what gives us confidence.
Well, coming to next question. Now, UP Chunav is there, right? Rahul Gandhi is completely absent. Priyanka Gandhi has entered the politics of UP very late. She's trying her best, but I guess, as per the opinion polls, Congress is still nowhere. We have just completed with the Bengal election last year, and we see Congress scored nil. So you are losing election. 34 elections you have lost out of 44 state elections happened in last 6-7 years. Okay, you have 53 seats in Lok Sabha, you have 36 seats in Rajya Sabha, and out of 4,036 legislative assembly seats, you have just 767 seats. So what these number tells that Congress is still not serious about the election. You are just merely contesting to oppose BJP. You're not contesting elections for your own progress as a party. You don't want to grow. It doesn't look like the Congress wants to grow here.
The Congress is going to win in Uttarakhand. It's going to win in Punjab. It's going to win in Goa. And it's going to win in Manipur. It's going to win 4 out of these 5 seats. And in Uttar Pradesh, the Congress performance will be fantastic. It's going to surprise everybody. vote share is going to go up tremendously. And the first list of Congress came out today, 125 candidates, 50 of them women, 40% seats have gone to women. These are the weakest women. The victim's mother has been given a seat. Women who've been abused, who've been treated badly by the government have been given a seat. And under the leadership of Srimati Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, you will see Congress not just rejuvenating, but occupying mind space. And in 2024, I can assure you, the next union government will be a Congress-led union government. The Congress is on the path to revival.
Well, I really appreciate that. Being a staunch congressman, you always defend Congress. It doesn't matter if even the tip of the ship is above the sea level, you will still be on that ship. But
I am not a rat. The one thing I'm not is a rat. जब मोहब्बत करते तो दिल से करते, जिंदगी भर कांग्रेस का दामन थामा है, मर जाएगी लेकिन उसका दामन नहीं छोड़ेगी. Congress and Gandhi, both.
Why?
For us, both are one.
Why and?
Why is every BJP president from RSS?
No, why it has always been Gandhi family as the center of
because they've sacrificed for the country. Why is there always RSS person becoming BJP president? Why can't it be a woman from outside?
Well, it's sad that I don't have a guy from RSS or BJP to answer you, but I have the question related to Congress.
The Gandhis are sacrificed for the country.
Okay, Tehseen, it's a wonderful discussion with you. So lovely to have you.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you so much for taking out time for me.
Thank you, Rahul.
Whether we agree on few things, we disagree on few things, we always rejoice our democracy. We always love our democracy. We are happy in our democracy. We just agree to disagree. At the end of the day, it is for the people, by the people, and of the people. And people are going to decide who are going to win the election. And if they are happy with Yogi Adityanath or not, if they are happy with Narendra Modi or not, at the end of the day, the election will decide the fate of this country.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much for having me for the show. Once again, Happy New Year to you, your family members, to all your viewers. Please stay safe here in the middle of the third wave. Don't go out much unless it's a necessity. And Rahul and my discussion today is exactly why we should cherish Indian democracy. We may fiercely disagree with many points of view, but we can passionately agree to disagree and still be friends off camera and on camera and talk in a civilized way. And that's why I thoroughly enjoyed being on your show, Rahul. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Tehseen, for joining. Let's hope again we will join very soon. Thank you.